Okay, here we are, everyone. I know everyone's been asking how Connor has been doing, so I wanted to give you guys an update on all of that. So, Connor has actually been outperforming the fund by a pretty significant degree thus far this year. So maybe we need to hire him. But so Connor's basically been trading, I think, 4 trades since December 1st. So if you kind of want to go through maybe what you've learned a little bit running live trades, Connor, and what you're kind of seeing now.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from it. Just being able to study the market. But the big takeaways I've seen is last during the month of December, the environment really wasn't in our favor. But since that environment has changed in January, we've honestly just been on a ripper. We have won on the on our calendars on Monday. We've won every single Monday and there's a lot of trades that we have just won. Like you see here, like 12 out of the 14 trades we have won on. So, I mean, we've been on an absolute ripper this past month.
So, I mean, I don't anticipate this to keep going. And since December was rough, this obviously makes sense that it basically comes in line. But you can see stuff here. And then the next thing, we won't go through comparing all the trades for you, but I wanted to show the process that Connor did for comparing the trades. So can you kind of walk us through what these screenshots are? And I think this is for all in open, the trades that you were looking at, which is the one that
Yeah, basically all I'm doing is I'm going into TradeSteward and I'm just pulling up the trade logs and looking at the trade logs and compare in TradeSteward and comparing to my trade logs in Option Omega. And I'm just making sure, do they win on those days? Like on January 12th, did it win? And on in TradeSteward, and did it win on January 12th in Options Omega as well?
Yep.
And as long as those match up, it usually means we're on the right path.
And then to kind of show you what this looks like, it's like, what Connor did is he went in Options Omega. I'll zoom in a little bit here. And he put the start date for his account, which was December 2nd, and then the end date, which was the 21st, which is when he put this date up. And he ran the back test on the call side. You can see here that it had one loss. That one loss was on December 24th. He took the 6,005 strike. Just so happens in TradeSteward, he also took this 500 strike. He got $2 in TradeSteward, and he got 190 in TradeSteward, and he got 180 in Option Omega. And you can see that these both result in a loss, 1033 AM and 1033 AM. So that's basically exactly what we want to see. And you can basically see it reflected here. And, Connor did this effectively once a week. Now, do you want to kind of explain what you saw on the put side, Connor? And let me know if you need to zoom in on anything, but this is the back test you did.
Yeah, so on the put side, if you can scroll down a little bit, on the put side, we were having some losses, but it really did match up to both the TradeSteward and Options Omega too. So that was good, and there was one that we kind of tipped over a little bit because we see here that it was a credit of 182 and a credit of 195 on that.
Yeah.
So that was the only anomaly really we saw there.
Yeah. And to kind of explain this more, so it's like when we look at the back test, you could ask yourself, how is this possible? So it was on the same date. We took them both at 932. The back test took 195. We basically got like 160, it looks like. And we got stopped out in real life, and the back test did not get stopped out. So you could say Options Omega doesn't work. We'll never make money. How does this work? But the nature of the back test is that it says at 932, whatever the mid price is, we minus 10 cents entry slippage, and that's the price we get. Whereas in real life, the market can move up a point or two, and we have to take what the price is. So you can see here that we collected roughly 20 cents less, even though it was the same exact strike price here. And basically what happened with that is that when that occurred, we ended up, getting top ticked on, that occasion, and we basically lost. So you can see here, $2 versus 95. It does encompass the national bid best offer. However, whatever our trigger mechanism was on toss or whatever that was, it hit us on this instead of hitting it on Option Omega. So this is not as concerning, being that I think we had 18 trades on each side. So we've missed 1 out of 36.
Like a 95% win rate.
Yeah, we're going kind of for a 95% accuracy. Hopefully the next time it'll flip where we lose on the back test. It also happens and we win in the actual TradeSteward. But it's good that we notice it. We'll make an eye out for it. Maybe we need to adjust the settings if something kind of happens in the future, but all in all, it's not a big deal. And also now, since Connor has an extra $6,000, he's going to add another trade. Do you want to kind of talk us through your new trade that you come up and what was your thought behind it, Connor?
Yeah, so really, we've ran this trade in the past before, just like talked about it. And I thought it'd be good to add some diversification to the portfolio since we already have the 932 on it open. And really, the 932 is kind of like a higher risk to reward ratio. And this one's a little bit of lower risk to reward. And so the way we were kind of doing that was we wanted to have a little bit of lower MAR ratio and a lower capture rate. But I really did want to ask you, Mark, on this one. How does the lower MAR relate to the lower capture as well?
Yeah. So the answer here is like, we're not looking for what's best. We're looking for what works for us. So, this probably tests better at 932 also. However, we can diversify through time and we can basically diversify through management. Because if we're using a stop loss, if you take the stop loss off, you're basically trend following. You're saying the market's going to continue in that direction when you use a stop loss, even if you just enter in as a neutral trade here. So we were able to get diversification with time. And then we also we're going to have a much lower capture. But in regards to that, our MAR rate actually looks quite a bit better. And the environments, we saw that the call side was really rough in 2024, whereas this one, it's actually quite nice. And the other part about this that I think Connor did a good job is we're only in the trade for an average of 90 minutes, whether we get stopped or profit take it. So all in it open goes to expiration, whereas this one, we're basically out by noon. So now we have an option to potentially reuse this buying power at 3 p.m. And the benefit of that is, like banks, if we have a higher time velocity of money, we can basically use this 10 grand of buying power twice in a day. And by doing that, make more money faster, compound faster, and we have different ways to get profit basically. So, the capture is 1/5 of all in it open, but we're collecting, twice the premium basically. So
makes sense.
Quite the benefit, and we're in it for 1/5 the time. So just from time and risk to reward, if this goes on a 5-time losing streak, you can see there's not big drawdown lines in here also.
Makes sense. So basically you're just upping the premium you're upping your dollar amount on here to be able to still be able to capture a lot of money basically at the same time.
Yeah. And we can reuse the money potentially as well. So
makes sense.
And this is quite punished. We have 2 hits for a profit take. We have entry slippage, exit slippage, and it's pretty robust. A little struggle in 2020, but other than that, it's pretty good. And then this is kind of Connor's back test data that he did. So do you want to kind of talk about these? And I see you highlighted 3 of them and what came out that stuck out.
Yeah, basically what we were doing is we were just we were playing with the ratios on this one. You could see the ones that performed well. The profit take to stop ratios, stop loss ratios,
which is part of what equation that we've talked about in the past.
The expected value equation.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, and we did this a couple videos ago, so you guys might remember this. But basically, we're just testing what ratios worked, and we found on this one, like that 1-to-6 ratio worked the worst. The 1-to-4 worked all right, but the one that best worked for us, what we were trying to capture, was the 1-to-1 ratio.
Yep. And the other interesting thing about this is the trades that have the lowest win rate, or the trade that had the lowest win rate and the least risk to reward, actually made the most money. So, we basically learned that by losing more, you make more money. So you can win 80% of the time and you only capture 1.6% of the premium you sell, or you could have really big average wins at $450, but you only capture 5% of the premium you sell and you have big drawdowns, $1,200 drawdowns, or you could go 1-to-1 or 2-to-3 type of ratio, and it actually looks quite nice. So this is
being the bowl team's not always the bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we're trying to build a football program here, and it's like you can't always have the best offense and whatever, but as long as you're going to the bowls, you're winning enough football games and you're staying in the conference and you're doing whatever. So it's like this is more an exercise in just learning what we can do than it is making what the most optimalist thing is. So we'll start running this in there. And then the concept that we'll kind of cover next time will be what is beta and correlation and how can we use it? Do you have any idea what correlation or beta is, Connor?
I don't remember what beta is, to be honest with you.
Do you know what correlation is?
It's kind of have to relate to, like, correlating is just relation to something. So I really, is it just like, are we going to be talking about how this correlates, like, with how it's actually going to perform, like the stop loss, the expected value equation? Does it have anything to do along those lines?
So basically it's like with correlation, it's basically saying we have different ways of making money. So one environment is not the only way we can make money. So for example, on an open, if the market significantly trends up or down, we're screwed. However, or if it happens anytime throughout the day, we're screwed. Whereas if we had another trade that is out in an hour and a half, then that gives us lack of correlation. It's like, to really simplify this and over the numbers that actually works this way is like, if you sold the 10 delta put at 10 a.m. and you sold the 10 delta put at 2 p.m., they're going to be like 0.25 correlated because they're only exposed about 1/4 of the hours to one another. But the flip side of this is with correlation, we also need to balance out the beta. And what beta means is volatility. So like how big it zig and zags. The best way I could describe it is like young kids have a very high beta of what their emotions are. It goes up and down very quickly based on what's going on, whereas adults have a much more responsible beta of their emotions. So the key with this is like, if you have a trade that's 1-to-1 correlated, so their correlation is exactly 1, but the beta on 1 is 0.2, like 1 versus 0.2, that's actually a great amount of diversification because when you lose, it only loses 1/5 as much, but it basically wins at the same exact rate. That it's never that close, but this is where a lot of people screw up when they look at correlation as beta. Is it's like, if we can keep our correlation the same and bring down our beta, we're actually more diversified. Or if you brought your correlation up, but you significantly reduced your beta, you actually significantly increase your diversification. So next time we'll like export that out and we'll show everyone basically in Options Omega and a spreadsheet how to do that with like 2 trades. And we'll basically compare all in open to the 10-15 trade as a thesis of like, how correlated are these? What do they look like? Does this make sense to run? And we'll basically show that to everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Just a quick question. So is it like, do you want to have more trades to have better correlation? So you're like, or is it less trades that have a better, low risk to high reward? Is that what it's trying to find? So, like, how correlated is your portfolio, or is it just 2 trades?
So this is basically a portfolio faction. So like we could add a very correlated trade in and it could significantly reduce the correlation of our portfolio, even though we have 2 trades that are very correlated. And like the whole thought process behind this is like, we're progressing towards managing a portfolio and not managing trades or finding the best trade. And like most of our benefit for doing this is going to come from 2 trades to 3 trades, 3 trades to 4 trades, 5 trades to 6 trades. So then basically nothing else happens. It's just noise.
So the ultimate goal is to figure out how correlated our portfolio is. Not just we started out with maybe a couple trades, but then we start looking at our portfolios.
Yeah. So if we look at the trade equation, it's expected value equation, which is average win, average loss, win percent, which is the money we make. That's the expected value equation. The portfolio equation is like average win, average loss, win percent divided by correlation beta square root. I don't know what the actual math equation is, but like the top part is our individual trades of expected value. And then the bottom part is when those are combined, what does that do to the correlation or the zigzag of our portfolio? So we want to zig when the S&P zags, and then we want to not zig as much as the S&P zags, to put it very simply,
Makes perfect sense,
Yeah. You're like the, I don't know, I don't know what a good sports analogy is, but it's like you're like the guy that plays defense, rebounds, and like shoots open threes in basketball. You know what I'm saying? Or you're like the left tackle. You protect the blind side, and he makes more throws, which makes you money. You know, but like someone needs to increase the amount of throws that the guy can make. You know,
that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into that for sure.
Right, sweet. Well, we will show you guys that next week. If you want to show anything else, my video editor will put the Google Forms in the bottom, so we can put Connor through the ringer if there's something in particular that he needs to see or something, but it should be good. Right. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.